name is Will Bronlick, and welcome to another episode of Quick Movie Reviews. I've seen numerous movies, and instead of going through them one by one, I figured I'd just shotgun through them all right away. Now, this will contain a movie from last year, as well as a couple movies from this year, before the pandemic happened. I'll be going through, I guess, from my least favorite to my favorite. I think that'll be fair. So, with that being said, let us begin. So, to review Dolittle, I came prepared. Alright. So, I had next to no interest in seeing this movie. Especially after seeing how badly it was getting panned. Not just by critics, but from audiences too. And I'm a big Robert Downey Jr. fan. But I ultimately gave in and decided to give this movie a try. And it's not bad, but it's just weird in so many ways possible. Like, the acting is beyond awkward, especially from Robert Downey Jr. Like, he tries to do a Welsh accent, it does not work at all. And the editing is so bonkers that it makes no sense whatsoever. And all the animals that Dolittle talks to, they just have celebrity voices attached to them. And they have nothing really cool to say. So it'll just be like, oh, that's Tom Holland, or that's Rami Malek, or that's John Cena. I will admit there is one joke in particular that's a little funny. But I guess on a visual standpoint, it's fine, I guess, because I'm usually a sucker for good visuals. But I can see why a lot of people didn't like this movie. Like, it left me puzzled with, like, so many thoughts. I don't think it's a movie I want to see again, to be honest. But I'm not going to be, like, shaking my hand and saying this is the worst thing ever, because it's not. It's just, I guess, a below average movie in my opinion. So for my grade for Dolittle, it's going to be a C-. This has to be one of the most controversial movies that came out recently since Joker. And even though those two genres are completely different, there's still a little bit of backlash that came out with these movies. However, Sonic has a different kind of backlash. And that was the design of Sonic himself when the first trailer was released. People were outraged by how the design looked. In fact, I showed it to one of my friends, and she just said that he looks like an alien, which I guess is technically the case. I mean, he's a blue hedgehog who runs fast. Now, granted, I'm not a die-hard Sonic fan like a lot of people are, but I did play the games, and I watched a little bit of the cartoons, so I knew about it a little bit. So, after seeing that this was getting some decent reviews, I actually decided to give this a go. And I'd be lying if I said this movie wasn't a lot of fun. I mean, I downright enjoyed this movie. I mean, the performances were serviceable, but I especially loved Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. He was crazy, he was over the top, but he absolutely stole the show in my opinion. I liked the way Sonic and James Marsden's character worked off of each other. It's basically every buddy road trip movie known to man. And while it gets tiresome after a little while, this movie kind of makes it work. And I'm not gonna lie, this movie actually got a decent amount of laughs out of me. Like, I didn't think that a video game-based movie. In fact, the only other video game-based movie that I actually got a good laugh out of was Detective Pikachu. I will admit, though, that, even though this movie has some charm to it, I feel like this movie is simply made for kids. Like, it isn't bad by any means. I actually really enjoyed this movie. In fact, I actually don't mind watching it again at some point. But I just don't think this is, like, my favorite of 2020. In fact, I don't think I even have a favorite for 2020. Also, there's a lot of product placement, especially for Olive Garden. Like, holy crap. I have lost count at how many times they even mentioned Olive Garden in this entire movie. And personally, I felt like, Sonic would have been a better choice because, it would have been a good play on, and I thought that was a good missed opportunity. But that's just my preference. Other than that, I think this was a fun time. Solid performances, some good comedy. Even though it's made for kids, I think some adults will enjoy it too. My grade for Sonic the Hedgehog will be a B. Now, this is a movie I've seen very little advertisements for, if not none. The only ways I've heard about this movie were from two YouTube reviewers that I follow, Chris Duckman and Your Movie Sucks. And both of them praised the hell out of this movie. So, I tried my best last year to see if it was playing anywhere near me. This was back when I was in North Carolina at school. And sadly, there wasn't anything playing near me. The only thing that was playing near me was from Charlotte. And I live 45 minutes to an hour from Charlotte, which didn't help my case at all. And I didn't really have anybody to go with me. So, I saw that this movie was available on Amazon Prime Video, and I finally decided to give it a try. And I have to say, this movie was flat out fantastic. Like, the performances from Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe were all towering. Robert Pattinson's character, he doesn't like to talk much. He's very, introverted. But meanwhile, Willem Dafoe's character is very sociable. He loves a good conversation. And both of them work off of each other very well. I love the cinematography in this movie. It's shot entirely in black and white. Nothing felt out of place. I loved all the shots, the angles, everything. This movie also had some very haunting and sombering themes to it. This has, horror mixed with psychological thriller and suspense. And for what it's worth, it's definitely worth seeing. This movie definitely makes you think about some stuff. There's usually some movies that I usually don't think twice about, but this one, the more I think about it, the better it gets. And I know that's going to sound weird, but there's one scene in particular. For those who have seen The Lighthouse, you know what I'm talking about, probably. That it just sent chills down my spine, still to this day. And this movie's not even a year old. Personally, I felt like Robert Pattinson should have been nominated for an Oscar. In fact, I felt like this whole movie should have been nominated for Best Picture. Granted, I didn't see Robert Eggers' other movie, The Witch, but after seeing this movie, I think I will at some point. I'll definitely give you guys a review on that. But this is a movie I definitely want to watch more times. And I can see why Chris Duckman and Your Movie Sucks really liked it. And if you're into horror and stuff like that, I highly recommend checking this movie out. I think this is going to be one of those movies that will, in time, turn to a cult classic that wasn't nominated for any big awards except for Best Cinematography at the Oscars. For my grade, The Lighthouse will absolutely get an A+. Guys, that just about does it for this episode of Quick Movie Reviews. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more content. So, two things. I understand that, I promised you guys a reaction video to, or as some of you may know, that I was going to do a reaction video to the NHL Draft Lottery. Um, and I try to get my raw reactions, like, me actually reacting to the show. But sadly, I was eating and I didn't have enough time. I was getting some takeout. So I'm sorry if, the video isn't that good, even though it looks like it's actually doing pretty well. If I just did a skip video. And also, I'm doing a part-time job soon, so my time seeing movies is going to be somewhat limited. But granted, I will upload videos as much as I possibly can. So, until next time, see you later, Posse.